In 2026, the entire tech industry caught a collective fever. Terrified of falling behind, global corporations poured absolute fortunes into artificial intelligence, rushing to integrate it into every possible platform. But instead of the sleek, highly advanced future that decades of cinema had promised us, the reality was clunky and disjointed. We found ourselves stuck with automated chatbots assigned to act as our personal therapists, or massive language models awkwardly hallucinating answers to things we used to simply look up on a search engine. Behind the scenes, these same companies were quietly preparing to hike up subscription prices. Consumers were expected to pay a premium just to maintain these forced, increasingly frustrating automated tools. The industry's blind rush to avoid obsolescence ended up building a digital ecosystem completely stripped of actual human utility. That hollowness bled directly into social media feeds. Almost overnight, timelines became saturated with photorealistic synthetic media that was virtually indistinguishable from a camera lens. Flawless digital influencers lounging in perfectly generated luxury apartments began crowding out actual creators. This created a systemic failure known as context collapse. When a machine perfectly mimics reality but provides zero information about where that image actually came from, the meaning of the image disintegrates. Viewers scrolling through their phones suddenly had no way to anchor themselves. The clear line between a documented event and a prompted fantasy completely vanished. Because code can scale infinitely faster than physical production, the unchecked volume of this synthetic content easily drowned out the human signal. Algorithmic perfection suffocated any chance at genuine connection, leaving behind a cold and deeply dystopian user experience. This presented an enormous existential threat to the platforms themselves. If an audience reaches a point where they can't trust a single frame of video, they stop watching entirely. By maximizing engagement with endless synthetic media, platforms were actively destroying the exact viewer trust they needed to stay alive. One platform realized that participating in this unlabeled AI arms race would make them completely obsolete. That was YouTube. While other tech giants were building generalized productivity tools, YouTube's entire business model relied heavily on human creators documenting reality. Rather than letting synthetic media run unchecked, they chose to pivot away from the industry standard, intentionally prioritizing viewer transparency. They recognized that drawing a hard visual line between a human with a camera and a machine with a prompt was their only viable path to long-term survival. Their 2026 policy was straightforward. Creators utilizing photorealistic AI must explicitly highlight it upon upload. Unlike past disclosures hidden in long descriptions, immediate context is now shown at the video's start. If skipped, platform failsafes detect synthetic artifacts and automatically apply the label. Crucially, this policy did not ban the use of artificial intelligence, nor did it prevent creators from running ads and earning money on synthetic content. The stated goal was simply to balance a creator's freedom to use new tools with an audience's necessity for immediate context. That simple act of upfront disclosure handed the interpretive power straight back to the person watching the screen. By enforcing transparency instead of censorship, they managed to repair context collapse without stifling technological development. Revealing the synthetic nature of these videos caused a massive shift in user behavior. The hypnotic spell of algorithmic perfection broke. The mandatory label began to act as a subconscious warning sign. Viewers started to look at flawless lighting and perfect symmetry and immediately associate it with artificiality. This triggered an enormous, unintended economic reaction. The transparency system accidentally created a highly lucrative premium on content that remained unlabeled. Exhausted by feeds full of sterile polish, audiences actively began hunting for videos that lacked the AI warning label. YouTube's policy inadvertently turned raw, unaugmented reality into a scarce and highly valuable commodity in the digital economy. This demand for the human premium made perfect sense. Messy reality became the one thing a machine could not convincingly fake. Audiences found themselves craving physical imperfections. They wanted unsteady camera work, unscripted stutters, and the genuine struggle of a person working in a real-world environment. When you can prompt a photorealistic universe into existence in 3 seconds, visual perfection loses its currency. By drawing a boundary around artificial intelligence, the platform allowed human imperfection to stand apart, cementing authenticity as the ultimate currency.